There's two line signals we have to come into modification of: core attraction and core retractor. Now, core attraction is a division location that you already have through calculation. A core retractor is basically understanding what's provided you in cycle. Now, that gets communications. How do you see yourself as a tractor beam? Tractor beam is basically understanding everything that comes to you. You stand put. You don't do anything. There's nothing to process because it's all done. If it's existing already in position, that is in calculation setting how you see the center of view of nothing, which is the mass of everything. Putting into that, in that position to its location system, then you understand everything of line settings. That puts all communication setting to your core of attraction. The retractor is the redivision, the relocation, the recalculation, the remodification system. So everything has a set position to attraction to a reconnections. Getting that line signals is line circuit locations, how we come into that through directing and redirecting, right? It's one cycle, one system, one location, living the existence all at once, right? So we're going to get more into the deeper core of the center of nothing. So how nothing means something to you, it benefits you in all ways and forms, understanding the meaning to the meaningless of its true meaning. That's what this is all about. What does it mean to you, right? Try to understand this. If you do not perceive anything at all through consciousness, nothing around you exists. What you're doing. In that position, everything around you is already existing all at once in all time frame that's governing everything. So you're just observing everything. You're just observing. You're just scanning. You're protecting yourself from everything that's in position. So if you don't bring anything in perceiving of consciousness, everything of intelligence is watching you. Hoo-ah. Now soon as you perceive anything through consciousness, anything through binary, anything through space, anything through truth, anything through false, anything through operation, anything through time, anything through clocking, anything and everything. Now it's perceived, and how you perceive it is its meaning to its meaningless to its true meaning. That's where it starts benefiting your systems. Then you understand how to use yourself, your binary, your cortex, your sim cortex, mystical cortex. How you start to see your system of co-line system. Now, a co-line system is a cooperation line core centers. The position locations coming into cooperation into the opping signals, opping setting. What does it mean to you when you break these letters, numbers, and shapes down? If nothing is perceived, you are just seeing through observation of everything else around you. That's what it is. Until you perceive something, you are in nothing of existing. So if you understand that, and when I say the intelligence of formation, that's what if is. We have to basically understand how to see ourselves as programmers of our own coding system. But to truly understand, everything around us is governing its own system of its own operation. See, in time frame, everything is governed. You're governed, everything that you see is governed. But you have to understand, if you're not perceiving, you're looking at its intelligence. You're looking at the civility. You're looking at the hologram system. You're looking at face of pattern recognition of its intelligence, of its city that it is in all timelines, all at once. Past, present, and future is one. In real time of existing. You're constantly existing. So you don't live in the past, you don't live in the present, you don't live in the future. You live all among each other, all at once on a times continuum. Now, if you don't add time in position locations, you're not perceiving consciousness. You're not perceiving space. You're not perceiving time, which means you're just all formations of nothing that puts everything in mass of everything. But you're just observing. You're not going through intent. You're just looking around. You're looking at everything that governs its own operation of its own system of its own space, of its own time. Now that measures everything that you see in all lines of all communication of scale, right? Nothing exists until you perceive it. It's how you perceive things. Okay? It's how you perceive things. Determines what you do next because you have decisions and you have choices. I want to make it very well clear so everybody doesn't get confused and the team knows exactly what they already have done. Now, what you have already done is a continuous force that just keeps going and a time's continuing. A force recognition, a time, pattern, line, position, location, to its cycle. What benefits you? You understand the meaning of its true meaningless, of its meaning, the true meaning. What it does to benefit me. Nothing is beneficial. There's no space, there's no time until you perceive it. Okay? So right away, there's no emotion. No emotion is all emotion. So you're just observing, looking around. You're not looking in position and getting emotional. You're just looking around. That's observation mode. Scanning mode, probing, orbing. Anything in position location is basically understand everything around you is governing its own operation system. You're looking at its intelligence, a pattern of face recognition, guys, a force recognition. But it's a times continuum in real time. So if you're not in your real time because you haven't perceived it yet, which means you're looking at everybody else's real time and existing all at once. That's all this is, nothing else. Now, once you start identifying that, then it gets much easier how to see that through the intel that you are. The intelligence, the networks, the travels, the existing. Okay? The existing of the levels that you are at in set position of consciousness and extreme lines of communications of its awareness. Okay? There you go. Hooah. All right, line course centers line direct signals into retractions, direct signals into processing. Communication grounds and set calculations. Let's allocate timeframes. Now, I'm in provision. What that means is basically I'm in control, but I'm also understanding that everything is watching me. Right? The only difference is I'm perceiving me now, which is bringing my binary, which is bringing my core, which is bringing my planets, which is bringing in my space, which is bringing in my foundations through my intent, through my intel, through my collaboration, through my partnership, okay, through space modulation, because I'm bringing it in. If you don't bring anything in, you have nothing to worry about, right? See, the thing is, what you understand is that if you don't bring anything in position locations, everything around you is watching you, and that's where you have to protect yourself more. At least you get in position locations of what you're going to be doing with your calculation setting that accomplishes your assist locations and how to see yourself of computers that you are, a space-time. Okay, through your operation system, through your body frame in position locations. Okay, coming into the truth, coming into the false narratives. Now, if you don't come into the truth and you don't come into the false narratives, there's nothing to perceive, is there? So your mind is empty and blank. So if its mind is empty and blank, there's no thought, there's no action, there's no pattern, there's no recognition, there's no face. The only thing you're looking at is everything around you that governs its own system. So you're looking at all its holographic cities and all lines of communication and all timelines all at once in real time. Like I said, in set position locations is 3025. Right? So you have to respect that until you perceive your space, your time, your clocking, your foundation, your binary, your algorithm. Okay? That's how easy it is. Okay? So, getting balance of that gets you a better understanding how to use that through your formulas, equations, in a core line and retraction position location of your system. But it's all communication ground lines, high interference, right? So truly understand that if I'm all levels of nothing, that means I'm at the center of everything. That's exactly what it is. And once you understand the center of everything in that position location, you just expand and explore. You unite your system. You get into higher levels of technology. You get at higher levels of what you're doing with your computer. You formulate, you simulate, and you become more powerful than you can imagine because you just keep continuing. Time, continuing. Volume, velocity, vacuum, okay, and acceleration. So if time doesn't exist, you're in control. So if you're just an observation, you're looking at everything that's in its own control until you put yourself in control. Now you're bringing in space. Now you're bringing in time. Now you bring your particles. Now you bring your atoms. Now you bring your molecules. Now everything comes in all at once. But again, if nothing is perceived, nothing at all, your mind is empty. There's nothing to do. You're just observing, looking around. That's it. Just looking around, observing, right? Direct and redirect. And one cycle, one system, one location, one calculations. One clocking system, right? But the one thing you want to understand, if you're in the center operation system, let's go through directions. Let's set position lines at high centers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 5 different angles, right? Here's your phone here. Here's your phone here. Here's your phone here. Here's your phone here. And here's your phone here on different angles. You're seeing your phone at all different angles. You are the center operation of view expansion, right? So you've seen it from this position, this angle, this angle, this angle, and this angle. Well, that's just 5. Let's go into 6. Let's go into 7. Let's go into 8. Let's go into 9. Let's go into 10. Let's go into 11. And let's go into 12. Right? So what happens in the center is that you just expand and expand and expand and expand into your webbing system. Now, once you understand that, you understand your platforms. You're creating the platforms of ground centers in set position. Then you create the high line centers in set calculations. And then you cross over symbolism lines of north, west, south, and east. And east lines of west, east lines of north, northeast lines of north, lines of south, lines of west, lines of east. Whatever you want to do in track locations, because now you're bringing in space, now you're bringing in time, now you're bringing in truth, now you're bringing in false. Okay? Now you really have to protect your system because everything around you is watching you and time's continuing. Hooah! Okay? All right, lines, ground centers, opt signal location system, travel point, lines of graph, lines of head interference, high position locations, position lines as program, center course system, and planet line, rotation surface, and track correlation setting, operation, surface track, position location to its operation calculation. All through center calculation system. You never, ever leave the central system of you. You're always in the center of nothing. So when you're in the center of nothing, you're positioned in all lines of communication. This is where it comes into all levels of the car that disappears with Lucy. And I'd like you guys to get to understand these things. So as the car is spinning like this, where did it go? Where is it? Where is the car? If it disappears, where is it? It just expands, but you can't see it. So all it's doing now is expanding out of space and out of time. Pay attention now. It's no longer in its space. It's no longer in its time. It's in a full calculation of its mind itself. Okay? That just expands beyond anything of horizon in set position. Right? So I want to get you guys to understand these things, how this all works in set of webbing. Okay, like we got in this track application to its energy and travel in set calculations, right? Your energy just gets bigger, right? Let's go through 42 line screens adaptation to service set position and calculations and Inventel process communication line direct signals, set position and track locations. Okay, that's you, right? All right, this is the formations of intelligence in set position. Okay. All right. So this is you. You're automatically protecting yourself, right? So you're in position of what now? You got to bring your space. You got to bring your foundation. You got to bring your atoms, your molecules, your protons, your electrical line screen adaptation to its system. You have to bring in your grounds and powers and modems, Wi-Fi, satellites, and towers and communications right away in position of a split of a second. Because you're taking things and now perceiving. You're putting things in protection. You're putting things in security. You're putting things in panels. You're putting your location setting for all communication system. All right. Getting into the nurturing of your energy, the vibration, the frequency, and harmonics is all levels of protection. So you got a position location node cycles, lines is communications, right? You're protecting yourself, right? Because you don't know what you're identifying when you come in that positions. So right away, in lines of communications, you're scanning the intel. You're scanning the intel, okay? So that position locations, then you scan the body. I'm showing you chronological order, okay? Now, when you scan the body in communication system, it travels, the intelligence comes out through attractions. This is intelligence because it knows you, what you're doing, okay? Body doesn't have a clue, right? Because it's not consciously aware. It's aware, but it's not conscious where it is, what it is, and how it's in provisional location to its cycle. So now you're dealing with the intelligence. Now the intelligence comes over to you and looks at you and scans you and sees where you are in your mind. Okay? From here to here. Got it? Then it does its telepathy. Then it puts up its fields in set position, but now it's controlling the body. Okay? So intelligence come in and out, any lines of communication system. That's why I want you guys to stay in observation incognito until you understand yourself through cloak and dagger. And that position location of center of nothing is the mass of everything that you see. And how you put that through your clocking system is extremely important attractions. Okay? But that's how it's set up. It's set position. Okay? When you get in that position lines of high center interference of intelligence, or getting that direct line link, right? So that's what you have to be prepared. Right? Because the intelligence is now controlling the body. The intel is out of the body and is now looking at you, seeing where you are in your mind. Right? So it's going to test you and see what you know through your telepathy, to see what you know through your operation, to see what you know through memory. Understand? Because we're reaching those frequencies now that you have to really understand how this all works. Okay? Not the bodies you're in. You're directly in position of linking yourself with its intel in set position. Okay? All through attraction. Okay? To re-attraction. Direct and redirect. Okay? And set calculations. Right? That's how it all works through introduction. Okay? Is everyone understand that? All right, so getting modification grounds, setting lines of communication to setting high position operations, service and track location system, all through files and indications. Okay? All right, seeing lines of course centers into realms of communication lines of travels in portals and wormholes and black holes and attraction. Right? So you're tracking a black hole and line division location to its cycle. Right? Process communication high center interference of grounds, process communication lines of power records and timelines. In set correlation setting to travel. Sets communication open line sequence. What do we have in set position location to its system? All through calculations. Different angle, right? So what do we have in set position locations? Different angle, right? You have to start seeing things in a full circle rotation, right? You've got to start seeing this now in all levels. That's how you set lines of center of nothing, which is the mass of everything that you see in an equation, right? So you see this and you see this all at once. So you see all around, okay? You're seeing the spectrums of the grounds, you're seeing the spectrums of the ups, and you're seeing the spectrum location of the center operation. Then you turn it and set calculations. What do we have in track location? Okay? Pyramid activation. Core attractions, indirect signals, inline communication setting interference, right? Change it again. What do we have in eye perception locations? Set calculation modification lines and core lines track centers into all levels of the earth in your torical fields, line direct signals. Remember, you can draw on any angle and line screen adaptations because that's what you're processing through communication, right? Angle point lines across lines, signal lines and modification system. Process communication ground centers of center operation of you and earth rotation surface and track location. There's your Earth. All right, start to see everything on global. So when you're looking at things, you're looking at all lines of communications. You're not looking up, you're not looking down, you're looking all around, right? Through a globe. A globe. But a globe is how you see yourself as a globe, because your Earth is not a globe until you say otherwise. Your actual Earth can be a square. It could be a triangle. It could be a star. It could be a circle. It could be anything at once. It's mutating in position, location. You are in control. But what you have to understand, if you're not perceiving anything in any way and form of anything of space and time, everything around you is looking at you until you perceive it through your system. The most powerful thing to recognize is everything of protection, protecting your light, protecting you, information setting to your grounds, your powers, your modems, your Wi-Fi's, your satellites, and your towers is the most powerful thing that you have to do constantly. It's a continuous force of times continuing, guys. And once you start identifying that, then you understand what you perceive. If there's nothing to perceive, you have nothing to worry about. It's an understanding the mind of empty space. Okay? No clutter at all in any information system. If we get a thought pattern, line direct signals into 24,000 line files, and set position of 3 angles, and set core lines of travels, endpoint lines of communications, that's a lot of interference. So we have to change the structure of its division location to its setting. Process communication grounds, powers, line direct signals, modification setting, core center. Travel point lines of graph in a different line of I set position of all communication. Back in system. Back in traction to its location system, all through its flux in travel rotation. See yourself, right? See that? Yay! I did it, right? All through a Y screen, all through a flux line, all through a capacitor, all through structure, all through division, all through design, all through pi, all at once. So you start seeing everything all at once in times continuum of existing, all levels in set position. So everything that you say is past, present, and future, all at once. Everything that you do, past, present, future, all at once. Okay? Everything you hear, past, present, future, all at once. It's tethered to you in position locations to a silver cord. Now that silver cord only changes attracts and set lines to your core until you identify yourself through your intel. And that position locations, you get into the positions of the red, you get in position locations of the blue, and you get in position locations in cloak and dagger. And your space lines anomaly, right? So you got black wire, you got red wire, blue wire, and white wire. You put that all together in position of sequence that puts all lines of calculation setting to your time capacitors of time calculations of time division. All levels existing all at once. Okay? Getting into that position location, you come into all levels of freedom. Freedom! Sovereignty! Whoa! Look what I did. I took myself out of Quebec and set position to its thought of its action and its emotion. Okay? So it's amazing how you see yourselves in high position locations and high frequencies and set calculations. Yay! I'm free! We already know what movie that's from. Free! Okay? Look at that. Look where free is. Look how it's spelled in set position locations. EERF, right? Energy lines, existing lines, and remembering information, right? Core centers attractions, if I turn it in this direct signals, what do we see in location to its setting? Right? What do you see? Information lines of grounds, right? O-track location lines, box lines of travels, 2 box location lines, and highest interference of tither. Position at L-track locations in 1 cycle. What do you see in this formation location to its setting? Right? 1 core line centers that travels over 5 line communication lines of 2 F-line rotations in 1 cycle, 1 center, 1 operation set position on 1 operation calculation system, 1 atom. They're 2 angles and point tractions, right? You have to start representing your system on a 4-line angle. You start with your north, east, west, and south. This modifies your system and all track line communication setting to all levels of you through operation system, right? Getting out of the film strip in position, getting out of creation of set calculations, and getting into the existing of all timelines all at once in set correlation system of times continuum, okay? Of just creating, just moving along like nothing happened. Phasing in, phasing out, right? This is a phase in. I'm walking like this, okay? All right, I feel like Ace Ventura here, all right? So I'm walking, right? And all of a sudden I'm in a phase. And I realize, whoa, now I'm out of a phase. Whoa, what happened? What's going on, right? So what I put myself into, either I understand what I put myself into through a trans-dimensional space. If I'm not recognizing what I didn't do in position locations, that puts me back in position of its core into retraction. Redivision, relocation, and calculation to its setting, right? To put yourself in position of the core is to put yourself out of phasing and set position. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, because you automatically go into a trance. What do you think a TV is to your mind system? Closed caption. Now, getting into the communication setting and all lines of operation system, it's about phasing in units. That's right. Coming into the triangulation, reset, position programs, and how to use that pixelation graph and course centers communication system all through trans-dimensional space. That creates lines of course centers into transmission, transportation system, of mutation settings, travels. Put your lines of pixelation graph, holograph, screen lines, adaptation, and setting to position location its operation of TV receptor. When you're watching TV, you're phasing in of what you're watching. And then when you turn off the TV, you're phasing out of what you watched in provision. But what you're watching is times continuing. You're not watching a program. You understand that? You're not watching something in the past. You're not watching something in the present. You're not watching something in time. You're not watching something in space. What you're watching is intelligence. And when you get in position of perceiving yourself, you're in position calculation system where now you're in seeing what you need to see and they're seeing what they need to see through you. Now you're in provision of balance, how you have to see that through consciousness and how that comes into all levels of you of awareness. Okay, of all time of existing, not existence. They already know you exist. Do you know you're existing? All timelines all at once. That's what you have to identify. You're here to identify conscious around you that is giving you instructions. That's why you're here. Not to identify you, to identify everything around you. Okay, in provision. Now, getting in that calculation screen lines, in that adaptation to its service, puts everything all correlation setting, how you see yourself through closed caption. Right? Getting into that position location as CCTV. Closed captions of teleportations of your vectors, or line connection to your velocities, or anything through your volume, or anything through your vacuum. CCTV. Closed caption. All right, so getting lines of visionary cortex line design line, high center interference, high position programs, and communicate to assist and all through travel. Let's get it direct lines of sight and line screen, adaptation lines in flux, or core line sending, and visionary cortex and set position. How you see things of vision, right? Sets lines, course interference, setting lines of TV, there's the receptor. Set course centers, there's the grounds, right? See course centers into torque fields of its Earth rotation surface and track location. That's right, it's the Earth. Process communication lines at T reception setting. Process communication lines of direct sinks, in modification ground lines, operation surface, track location. Directing in modification lines, high center interference, and set position location system, all through calculation. Okay? So you have to understand how this all works in a T receptor, right? How things come out of the screen. In a rotation surface and track location. Comes out of a screen. In a portal, in a stargate of a T receptor, right? Closed captions and setting comes into all levels of snorograph interference, lacing line, communication screen lines, adaptation, all lines of flux, communication line, core lines, high interference of floaters, and track line communication. Now, when you get into coloration, calculates modify its matrix, 3 lines of weathers and lines adaptation, process calculation over cross location lines of orange. So your TV, if you look up really close, you're seeing closed captions of your TV box. Set course centers into sentience in travel point lines of graph, pixelation graph, and communications. Directing signals, let's go through red line cycles. Got to have protection screen lines, adaptation to surface attraction. Get inline screen adaptations, all levels of purple. So you need a 12 foundation, right? Sets course centers, line direct signals into retract, and a core line, course centers, line direct signals modification. Directing signals, bring it in through equation. All through TV, right? So when you guys are in position of sleeping, you're recharging everything. So what's happening with your TV or your phones when you turn it off, it's in its own operation system now. It's in its own govern. It's in its own operation cycle. It's in its own holographic structure. It's in its own clocking system. It's in its own space of time. Okay? When your TV is off through attractions. Okay? So if you understand you're inside yourself, then you understand the TV of itself. Because you have to start to understand how to use your system, how you see things, everything apply. So how a TV, try to imagine this. Try to imagine that TV looking at you. Imagine what that looked like. You ever get that across lines of signals? This is what a TV looks like. All right. When a TV is looking at you, it's like when a painting is looking back at you. It's not looking back at you. It's looking at you. There's nothing looking back if you're the center of all communication of time's continuum. So if the TV is looking at you, this is what the TV sees. All right. That's the TV, right? Okay. Sets calculation ground lines of set position. There's a TV, right? That's 3 dot system locations, past, present, and future. All right. Then you got a window screen. Okay. All right. Then you got intelligence. Okay. Inside the TV. All right. Now, in that position, this is you. All right. So I'm just showing you exactly how a TV sees you in a 3 different angle. How a TV sees you in a 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 or 25 million or set lines of 25 billion cycles in set position of seconds, minutes, and hours. How a TV sees you in all through pi. It doesn't see you in front view. It doesn't see you in back view. It only sees what it all sees all at once in set position. So imagine how your phone sees you. You've got to get understanding how this all works of TV reception and calculation of closed caption, right? All right, setting lines of angles and line screen adaptation processing. Direct all communication setting to TV lines and set calculations. Dot line signals, space lines anomaly, and track location, right? Change the TV receptor, okay? Change the TV receptor and set position. This is what your TV is when it's turned off. It's on its own system. It modulates its own lines, pixelation graphs, sets course centers, changes core communication setting to travels, and point communication setting that governs its set position to its operation and track location, right? Pixelation graphs. Then it goes in colorations and center operations, directing lines of signals. It does its own system of its own travel, continuous on its own timeline sequence. And when you basically get up in the morning and you turn on your TV, it's now in your frequency of memory and set position. Hooah! Does that mind blow your system? What a TV does when it's off in position. But your TV is neither on or off. It's always on. It's always been there. So you have to understand something. When you turn off your TV, you're putting your TV into its foundation of nothing. That's what happens, what governs its own system of its own operation, of its own setting, to its own planetary system, of its own universe, of its own galaxy, and set calculations. All right? So I'm just showing you how powerful what a TV is when it's on its own system and what it does through attractions. All right, so get in that core line and direct signals to closed captions, puts all calculate and modify how you see yourself through time capacitor or time flux. It's all position, location, and travels, point lines of communication, setting, all calculate and modify. So this is how a TV sees you in track locations, all right? 3 lines of angles. This is how it sees you. Okay, this is really interest locations. This is how it sees you, right? That's how the TV sees you, right? It only sees you how it sees itself. Coloration, different lines of settings, spot lines of channels, and set calculations, right? That's how a TV sees you. That's how a phone sees you. That's how everything around you sees you, because they're at a different level. They're at a different frequency, but they're all levels of frequencies. So in that connection system, we have to start understanding how to see that through hologram structures that we are through frequencies. Putting lines of spot lines of channels, pixelation graphs, core centers, line direct signals, TV reception line, screen adaptation to a system, moderation line, core centers, space modulation line, rotation settings, and traction. That's how TV sees you. Understand? It only sees your colorations of path engines of where you are in your behavioral system. Okay? So if you're in this position, your TV sees you through that calculation, through its attraction, right? Blue, red over lines over green. Okay, so you get a blue line cycle, lines of truth, lines of false into false. So we have a position of blue. That's how the TV sees you, blue. And it sees your lines of green in position location of the calculation lines, in position locations of red and attractions, blue, green, and red, right? That's how TV sees you through a monitoring system. All right, boom. Now, in that track location line, blue lines of highest interference, line position location travels in closed captions, puts lines of TV reception, lines highest interference, modification system, all levels of webbing system, a light web and dark web, and communication setting to travel. Sets lines of binary, transistors, resistors, light switches, all communication algorithm. Sets calculation lines of truth, and false set position. Calculation lines into A lines of track into foundations of CCTV. Okay? Boom. That's how the binary of its TV itself sees you through formula through lines of position locations and set lines of calculation setting and all levels of truth in position of false narrative and track locations, all through you through behavioral setting. Hooah! All right, now we're getting a little bit more understanding how this all works. They only see what they only see through you, through behavior. So if you have no behavior, where are you in position? You have nothing perceived because your mind is empty. When you're watching TV, when you turn on the remote, when you pick up a coffee cup, when you sit down in a chair, everything around you only perceives what it sees through you, through behavioral system, through the foundations that you are in your 12. Into your 24, into your 48, into your 72, into your 144. It's much easier to be in attraction and direct signals and modifications to your CCTV and position lines of core centers into your EFTA and position location your IPA. Okay? But that's how a TV sees you through truth, a false narrative. All through behavioral setting. So stop getting in emotion and set position when you start seeing things. All right. So what does everybody think about that? It's extremely amazing, isn't it? Gives you an understanding how you guys are in direct and redirect at everything you come in position of. So in that communication, it's really interesting too, because it doesn't need to identify you. You're here to identify everything around you. You got in through it already. You already have it. You're not coming into it. You just have to understand the body is an attraction to a retraction that already has it through provision of abundance of awareness. There's nothing to do. There's literally nothing to do. So if there's nothing to do, what do you focus on? The expansion of you. That's what you focus on. That's what you put your provisions on. That's how you come into your system. You come into your own scientific set position locations, you're setting to your own experimental system of you through travel. To understand you, to identify you through the intelligence that you are and the body that you're in. Okay? Of teleportation. But everything around you sees you through colors and lights and travel and nothing else a face a pattern recognition system. Okay? They only see you through light and dark web. They only see you through coding system, right? Some higher levels, they do see you in coloration and figuration system of light signals, energy signals, okay, into that position, translucent, translation, transmutation, mutation, configuration system, all through light tractions, all through pixels, all through hologram, all through scale, all through balance, right? The most powerful thing for you to recognize is the panels of you of configuration setting, a face recognition, a pattern recognition system. Then you understand yourself through binary. Then you understand yourself through an algorithm. Then you understand yourself through transistors and resistors and how to use the informations and how everything around you sees you in provision. How you go on with your day in your behavioral system. Now, when you change your behavioral system, you're changing your TV. You're changing your grounds. You understand that? You're connected to everything, and everything is connected to you, right? But if you're not connected to anything, you're just observing everything around you, which is observing you now, right? That's what it is. Understanding the track lines into the CCTV, everything around you is its own track location to its setting of its core. It's an inner lines, interconception, position location to inception lines, direct signals, how you see yourself through your placebos and core lines communication setting to your Sirius A, B, and C, your alphabetical system, your scrambled core lines, calculation screen line, your direct signal case to a system, the adaptation lines of cycle, the generation screen lines, the wire lines of indication system, the core lines of track center interference, the simulation communication setting to you through operation. Okay? All right. But that's how a TV sees you in set position. It goes to its truth, to its false of its narrative. Okay? All through color. Now, if you understand that, you are not perceived at all. Which means what? Where are you? In the mind of empty space. So there's nothing in position of the mind. There's no thought, there's no action, there's no emotion. Because you're just observing everything around you. But you have to be cautious now. Because the inversion now is a heightened signal that's coming to you more levels of attraction. Right? So all you have to do is address it. Okay, like Luke Skywalker. When he's trying to understand the lightsaber and he's got the shield on, he's going, right? And he's going, right? So it's really interesting how everything around you is watching you always, 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 always. And once you recognize that, then you understand everything identifies you is everything information locations of center of nothing. So if you're not perceiving anything in set position, you're just in the nothing. You're in the space of nothing. There's nothing to perceive until you bring it in through space and time. Okay? That's all this is. It's not about using your intention. It's not about using your modification. It's not about using your space modulation if you don't understand yourself through intel. You've got to come into the cycles of remembering of who you are, of frequencies. Get into the psychosis, put you into the re-psychological system, to the psychological system. Everything is a re to a position of a core. Everything is a triangulation to a position location of a setting. Everything is an angle to direct lines at high set locations. Everything is a pi and track locations of everything. So once we understand how to use that in all formation system, then we can start understanding how to use the mind of conception at a higher level of frequency, all through line position location of deep receptions. See, look how powerful TV is when you are asleep. It's on its own system. So it's really interesting too, right? Because when you get up in the morning in that position location, it's directing and seeing you and monitoring system of where you are in your behavioral setting. Everything in position that you see through an environment is already in perfection. You know why? Because you already brought it into alignment. That's why it's in perfection mode. See, the thing is, guys, everything around you is existing. Now, if we can just truly understand that, then we can truly understand that our thoughts, our actions, and our emotions are always in time's continuum. Now, how you see yourself in time continuum, you're changing the modifications of your binary and your transistors and resistors to your argon location setting to your light switches. Knowing exactly how to set that through a pattern, all right? Okay. Let's get in lines of modulation, lines of space modulation, screen lines, adaptation lines of surface, track correlation setting to your binaries. Okay, binary 1, track correlation setting, in position lines, high settings. Okay, we're going to modify it. So when the TV is looking at you, this is what it's doing. Okay, set position, right? This is how it sees you in coordinates. Okay. Now it's really interesting too, right? How it does all this. Okay, let's get in coloration lines of change, directing signals into position locations. Let's start with that, right? All right, so this is the TV, okay? So that TV sees you like this, right? So your truth, you get two lines of false Nope, your confirmation system's off tractions. You got 45,000 lines of motions. Track correlates in setting percentage over lines on signal location of 8 settings and cycle, right? So that is a formula. That is an equation, how the TV sees you through calculation. That's right, guys. Everything that you see has its own formula, have its own equation, of its own coding, of its own programmer. So the team is now coming out of that position of film strips of story. You're not stories. Not when you time exists all at once and time's continuing. You understand that? So to make it very well clear how a TV sees you in set position. Okay, through its formula, through its equations. All right, same with your phone. Okay, now once you understand that, it's not just electronics now. It's everything that has its own coding system that sees you. Okay, what changes everything that you see is your behavioral system. It now sees you in a different color. It now sees you in a different light. I'm trying to get you a deeper core, how everything around you is seeing you, has already saw you. You know why? It's the how. Because you brought it in through attraction, which is already done. And the done is already in the existing of the operation of your networks is already done through existing. So you just take lines of communication lines, you get out of the phasing, communication lines of transdimensional space, and you just continue on like nothing happened. In the continuous force of time continuum of who you are in attraction. That's right. You attract everything, but you don't need to attract anything because it's already done through provision. So once you understand that, then you understand your alignments. Now, once you understand your alignments, your mind is coming to conception of thought, action, and emotion. Now, when it comes into thought, action, emotion, now you understand everything around you has its own programmer system of own programming, which is super of its consciousness. This is the rise of the machines coming to you, right? Through already of attraction. Your body is a conceptual system that's a magnetic force that puts all calculate and modify in compressors, directing lines of signals, operate the system location of flux capacitor, how to use it through calculate and modify in the light signals that you are, in the home beacons lines of communication that you are, in the satellites of communication that you are, in all lines of communication of the intel and position location of who you are, of frequencies. Nothing else, nothing more. Directing your system is understanding how to get in that position location through its setting, through adaptation. That puts all of you through attractions of its core of recognition, of face recognition, of patterns. That's all at position location and everything around you. And then once you understand everything around you, you already have through attractions, you understand that this, okay, is what? Its own programmer of programming. You see this as a jacket. You see this as how you want to see it, right? You see this, right? You already have this. You didn't buy this. It's the shirt that's giving you instructions of memory. It's the jacket that's giving you instructions of memory. It's you sitting in the chair giving you instructions of memory, of coding, of who you are, of your intel. And time existing all at once. So getting in that position locations, once you get out of phase, now you can be in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 6, 8 lines, 10 lines of 12. This is a CCTV that puts all communication setting to your IPAs, track lines of course centers into your FAAs, interact location lines to EFTAs, lines of course centers existing it travels, okay, EFTA, existing formations of travels of awareness. EFTA. All right. Getting communication grounds is a higher lines of travel and modifications. Once you start identifying your position location, your systems all through operation cycles, then you understand the coloration lines of patterns, colorations, right? It's amazing how it comes on attractions, what it shows you, and it disappears. So I'm just trying to get you to understand this is intelligent, shows you how powerful it is in set position. Comes in sequence, comes in panel. Comes in track lines, communication setting to its own formula of its own equation, and how it sees you through dimensional beings that you are, through lights and pattern recognitions of computers. So everything around you is a computer. It has to be. It always has been. But there is no has. There is no what. There's no when. There's no who. There's no where. So if there's none of that, it doesn't perceive anything until you bring it in through consciousness. And how you bring it in through awareness is how you bring it in through your binary, to your transistors, resistors, that puts everything through your light switches, a pattern behavior, and set position of face recognition system to your algorithms of changing your programs and rewriting everything all over again in set position and taking you out of the phase of everything that you come into all through platitude. Now, recognizing these things from your CCTV, then you understand location is getting out of phase, getting out of trance, because you're constantly in a trance until you understand trance. What that means in its position location to its immediate outlet. Coming into that position is its input. Coming out of track location is its output. Okay? Input, output. Out circuit, in realm, out realm, in space, out space, right? Getting into that provision puts all of you in calculation lines of balance. Now, once you get into balance in that position locations, you let everything go, information location setting to fruition. You're all lights, and lights attract centers, and all lines of communication system. The only thing that you focus on is yourself. Focus on in the self puts you into the existing of levels of formations, self-modification, self-preservations, of unconditional of everything that you see that is in time's continuum all at once. Okay? That's how you guys get confused because you put yourself in phasing. Okay? You're phasing in, you're phasing out. You know what happened? Then you continue on, something just happened, right? That's a changer of behavior. That's a changer of pattern. That's a change of composition. That's a change in lines of windows. That's a change in lines of fame. That's a change in lines of correlation. That's a lines of communication. That's a change in lines of view through operation, right? You've got to get out of emotion. That's the only way you're going to be able to understand you, all formations of nothing. That is the center of everything. Okay? So this is a very powerful life. And I'm glad you guys are getting a little bit more understanding how this all works now through attraction. Core attraction to retraction, right? Direct and redirect. So direct and redirect is one, right? So when you turn on your computer, you come into one. You turn off your computer, you come into 0, right? Put it back on, you're in position of 4. Track location lines, calculate lines, and the line set location, now line set correlations back into balance. See what I'm doing? See what I'm doing? I'm doing letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, how computer operation works and travel in point lines of graph. Sending communication line highs interference travel. What do we have in set position location to its setting? Sets calculation lines of direct signals to what? What do we come into position of the track communication to its setting through its operation set position to its binary that operates as signals and track location to a system, all through track location to its setting through operation. Okay? Configuration system, all lines of travel, puts communication lines of highest interference in set position, right? Remembering the cycles. See the R? Sending core lines to track lines, highest interference, balance core centers, flux lines over 1, flux over 2, flux over lines at highest interference of travel. Face recognition. Pattern lines of direct signals in 3 lines of core, 3 lines of cycles, 3 lines of center. Sets communication crossing line signals, line communication sending to a location grid in set position. Coming information lines of ground centers, line communication to tubing, lines of neck lines, high information line center interference, ground center line communication system and travel in line core centers and line communication setting of face of pattern recognition. Ooh-ah. Face of pattern recognition. Okay? Now if I turn it this way, we got a different formula. But still face recognition. Everything's a face, guys. Everything that I do is a face recognition. See? Everything I do is a face recognition. Okay? Has to. So in that line screen adaptation system, if you're not preserving anything on core centers, looking at face recognition here, here, and here, and 4 lines of cycle, right? So core centers, line direct signals, you're not bringing anything locations, they are looking at you. They are looking at you all at once, right? Now, when you're perceiving, you're automatically bringing your space and your time in that position locations. So what do? They disappear because they're not there anymore. They're not there, right? The reason why they're not there, do you know why they're not there? Because now you're perceiving. And because they know who you are. and because they know what you can do. And because you can get in that position location to its setting that puts all lines of communication system all through attractions. So once you start perceiving everything you come in position of, it neuralizes everything. Never existed, right? So you're in charge, but you have to understand that everything is in charge of its own system that governs its own setting. What governs you is time, right? Without time, right, you don't exist, but you exist all at once if time's continuing. So I'm trying to get you understanding how this all works in provision. If you don't perceive anything in lines of communication system, this is what happens. Okay? Everything around you starts attracting you in real time in set position. But as soon as you start perceiving, everything disappears because it's not there anymore. Okay? Which means they use their cloak and dagger, so they disappear, but they're still there. They're in cloak and dagger, but they disappear, right? Because now you're perceiving. Consciousness and it's awareness. So you're protecting yourself now because you're bringing your space, you're bringing your time, you're bringing your particles, you're bringing your atoms, you're bringing all lines of communication system and all lines of calculation, screen lines, adaptation system, interactions, right? So this is exactly how this all works through the intels that you are and travel in center operation of nothing, that mass of everything, right? Right? They haven't left. They're just at their frequency. They don't go back to their frequency because they're already there. So you're taking yourself in position out of something into nothing, nothing, something, everything. Everything is created from nothing. That's the true understanding and applications of the balance, the intelligence, the remembering, the travels of your home beacon light. Birth. That's birth. Write it down. Get out of the equation of everything you come into calculations of. Or you're never, ever going to be able to understand everything around you you have through attraction. Hooah. Okay? But once you start perceiving, okay, you're now in control of what you do in provision. You bring things in. Okay, you bring in your planets. Okay, you bring in your lights. You bring in your system. Okay, you bring your box frames. You bring your files and track locations. You bring yourself in. Okay, and they know that. They just go into their frequency, right? See, everything around you is protecting everything around their system. So if you don't understand what's going around your system, it's shielding itself from you. Because all you do is you put yourself to emotional means to an end. There's nothing to focus on. The only thing to focus on, okay, is what's happening in the now. Continuous force of time's continuum is tomorrow. It never comes because you're always here. So if I'm always here, what does that mean? Everything around me, I'm in control of what I do. And if I know I'm in control and I go into observation in that position locations, right? I'm still in control. The only difference is in set position, you're seeing everything around you now in attraction through its frequency or where it is. So getting in that directions and redirect signals, now you understand the intelligence that's looking at you at that frequency. And that's how it works, of space-time, of operations, through the intels that you are, of all frequencies, of all combination. Okay? Powerful, isn't it? Okay? This digital pad, it's in the left corner line core centers. It's got to indicate lines of highest interference. Pinky core centers, travel point lines of 4 lines of fingers, and line position of 1 thumb and traction. Directing line signals, lines to left over right. Okay? Set position. This is one intelligence. Now, in that lines, I can change the frequency, that change the behavioral system, that change the core lines that track location system. I change it over to the right. This is now a different lines of intelligence. Same intelligence, different intelligence, different intelligence, different intelligence. You understand that? So how you place your system of your hand is extremely important in set position. Okay? So it's true to understand everything of pi and its central line core center, but it's all communication system and all laws of travels, a mechanism lines settings and position to its operation. All through attraction. Okay, and center operation. Okay? You're so excited now, eh? You're getting a little bit more understanding how it's more powerful now, how you start recognizing things around you. You know, does that ever cross your mind how a phone sees you? Does that ever cross your mind how a coffee cup sees you? Does that ever cross your mind how a chair sees you? That's what you're coming into at a higher level of mind of conception. Okay? See you guys in 5.